Hello and welcome to this video. My name is Dr. Lask, I'm a consultant radiologist, and what we're going to be doing is going through a quick video on degenerative spines. Now, when you look at degenerative spines, they can get a little bit daunting, and the current case that I've got up right now, it does look a little bit like, there's a lot going on. But what we need to do is look at it by level basis, right? And just have a look at every single level and try and figure out what's going on at each level before you move on to the next level. Now, naming them first off to begin with, this is going to be the L5 vertebra, and then you move on 4, 3, 2, 1 T12/L1. And actually on this one you can see there's a little bit of loss of anterior vertebral height by up to about 10%. You do want to look at the fluid sensitive sequences to try and see whether it's going to be acute, but just for this purposes we're going to say that this is not an acute abnormality. You can see the localizer kind of coming up to this level, and now what we've got to do is go to the sagittal views, which is this one over here, and go side to side and just have a look at those exiting nerve foramina. And when you look at the exiting nerve foramina, there's a little tiny dot and a little bit of fat around the outside. They look like a bit of a fisheye. But when you come up to the level that we're looking at right now, it doesn't look like there's much in the way of any fat around the exiting nerve. So there must be some level of impingement. And this is on the right side over here. So now keep your eyes on this particular screen, go across the other side. And again, there's not very much in the way of fat around that nerve. It looks very, very squashed as well. So I would be quite concerned that there's some exiting nerve foraminal narrowing. Now, when you come up to the level of the disc here, which is now on this side over here, you can see that there is what looks like quite a circumferential disc bulge kind of going all the way around like so. You've got your exiting nerve foramina that's over here, and exiting nerve foramina that's over here as well. And you also got the stuff along the back that sits over here, and that can get really, really thickened as well. And that's called the ligamentum flavum hypertrophy, ligamentum flavum, which can also get hypertrophied. Now you can see here that if you've got a combination of abnormalities such as a posterior disc bulge and some ligamentum flavum hypertrophy, then you're going to get a generalized narrowing of the spinal canal. Now this is the spinal canal here. You can see as you come further down, you can see lots of tiny little dots here located within the region of the spinal canal. So these are the nerves. When you come to this level, it does look a little bit crowded. So there is a bit of stenosis, but there is some maintained CSF fluid just anteriorly here, suggesting that there is a not complete stenosis. There is a kind of a moderate stenosis located here. Now, when you look at the posterior aspect of this spinous level, you can see this looks very, very broad base and almost circumferential posterior disc bulge, which is causing some of these abnormalities. You can get a situation where you get a bit more of a narrow kind of disc bulge kind of sticking out, and that can be a protrusion depending on whether it looks like a bit of a finger, or it could be a broad-based posterior disc bulge but more predominant to one side versus the other. And then you just have to sort of think about whether it's on the right side or the left side. So right-sided disc bulge would be a right paracentral, a left-sided disc bulge would be a left paracentral. And then you've got to think about whether it's going to be within the exiting nerve foramen, which is this one over here and here, where the nerves actually exit, where we saw on the sides, or whether it's going to be extraforaminal, where it's kind of on the outside. And anywhere along these regions, there can be narrowing or irritation of the nerves. There's also some descending nerves. Can you see this nerve that's going down here? You can follow that down, and that kind of descends and carries on down and then goes towards the outside. So you can imagine that at this level, these nerves that are kind of descending as well can be narrowed, and these are called the lateral recesses, right? So you've got a few areas of potential narrowing. Obviously, you've got your circumferential spinal canal narrowing, you've got your lateral recess potential narrowing, and then you've got exiting nerve foraminal narrowing, and then you've got your extraforaminal exiting nerve foraminal narrowing as well. So about potentially 3 places of narrowing that can exist. And that's what you have to do. You kind of got to go to every single level and try and think about what's being narrowed and what's not being narrowed. So you can see on this level, the next level, that's 5, 4, 3, there's L3/L4. It's less pronounced, isn't it? You can actually see a fair bit of CSF fluid. You can see the ligamentum flavum is like this. It's not pushing too much away. You can see that a few dots within there, which is going to be the descending nerves, and you can see just in those little recesses here, tiny little dots, which are going to be the descending nerves as well. The exiting nerve foramen, they do look like they're slightly narrowed, again by what looks like almost a bilobed posterior disc bulge. Coming up to these sides, yeah, there's a bit of fat around there, which looks good. Let's go to the other side, and this looks like a slightly reduced amount of fat, so there could be a bit of moderate narrowing along this side as well. So as you can see, it's quite an interesting case. As you can see, this is how you can go through every single level. You kind of keep going down to the next level, what kind of bulge, what's being narrowed, what's being potentially impinged, next level, and this is how you go about describing it. Last thing I'm going to mention is the facet joints. These are the facet joints over here, And you can see that these look very, very regular. These are synovial joints like any other joint, like your fingers and the rest of it. But these can also get inflamed, just like ankylosing spondylitis. They can get infected. So that was a really quick run through of spines. I hope that was useful and hopefully whets your appetite to potentially sign up with our upcoming course and have a look. It's on radiology seminars and I'd love to see you there. Bye.